So this is why you probably should practice these things at home.
Fine, I was trying something and it didn't work.
Hola a todos. Today we're making sopa negra, black bean soup, and then also guirillas, which is corn pancakes, and tostones with plantain. So I'm making a variation here just to make it vegan. So we'll start straight away. So I've got 400 grams of corn. I used frozen corn, but I decided to defrost it first, so not cooking it, and then we're going to blend it later. I'm going to give it a quick mash just to play safe as well. So now that's all mashed together, I'm going to move on to the next bit, which is soy yogurt. Obviously, if you're not vegan, you could use normal yogurt. So we'll use 2 tablespoons of this. So usually in Nicaragua, where this recipe originates, they would use sour cream. And I'm also making a variation because I'm adding plantain, so hopefully it'll be good. And then lastly, I'm going to add some cayenne pepper. There we go. So about a teaspoon of this. You need to be careful because you don't want it to be hot, because this is going with quite a hot black bean soup from Costa Rica. So there we go. Corn apparently has been cultivated in Central America for about 4,000 years. So I didn't know, but it's very popular in Costa Rica and also Nicaragua. So next up, I'm going to move on to my plantain. I've already done a video with plantain where I've explained it for like 4 minutes. So we'll start off straight away. I'm going to time myself and get these ready hopefully in 2 minutes. That's wrong, but who cares? So I should just add with the plantain, obviously it's quite difficult to get unless you've got a Caribbean store. So I'm using like green plantain, so it's a bit starchier, but you could try a riper variety if you want a bit more sweet. However, I'm using quite sweet corn here, sweet corn, so hopefully it'll work out okay. Now I'm just going to mash it a bit just before I blend. So that's mashed well enough, I'm going to blend it anyway. I should just add that this recipe doesn't need any flour, although I don't know how it works with plantain, obviously.
You're crazy!
And it should be quite chewy because the corn's used instead of flour. And I'm going to blend this now in the kitchen and see how it goes. Got to add a bit of salt, so make sure you add some of that. So just this very tiny bit. And next up I'm going to blend. This usually makes a complete mess, so I'm going to show you what it looks like afterwards, but this basically just works. Firstly, you need to turn it on, obviously. Perfect. And you don't want to watch me doing this for 5 minutes, so I'll come back once it's done. It's not really runny enough yet, so I'm going to add a bit more soya yogurt, so about 1.5 more tablespoons. I'll leave the recipe in the video description, obviously. So that's how it looks now. The mixture's not that runny as you can see, but hopefully it will work okay for a pancake. I might add more soy yogurt, but I'm going to do a taste test now. Actually, that's got quite a lot of cayenne pepper, so that's kind of right. But again, it does need more soy yogurt, so it's kind of quite different to the actual recipe I was basing this on. So hopefully it will now be the right consistency. So we've finished that off now. It's pouring a little bit better now, so we'll go with that. If it doesn't end up like a pancake, then I'll make fritters by mistake again, but we'll now move on to the Sopa Negra, which is black bean soup. This is very rustic, so you can do what the hell you like with it. So I've been frying some red onions for about like 5 minutes, just till they're soft. And you can make up the recipe how you like, and I'm going to add soy sauce, even though that's not very Central American, but I'm sure the Costa Ricans will forgive me. Bit more there. I was going to add salt, but given soy sauce has already got salt in there, I'm going to leave the salt there. Next up, we're going to move on to the flavourings, or spices I should say. So I have a mixture of ginger, so got a whole piece there which I've chopped up, and then garlic, so about 5 cloves because I like a lot of garlic, and then 1 red chilli, chopped all fairly finely, but it's very rustic, so you don't have to have it perfectly fine. I'll add all of these now. Made a bit of a mess, but I don't really care. And we'll move on to the carrots, so about 5 fairly small carrots, chopped up quite finely. Add them all in there. There we go, there's a bit there I'll enjoy in a sec, so give that a stir. The key thing is when you add the black beans later, you need to keep the liquid and have 2 cans, because otherwise it's not a black bean soup. But yeah, we'll leave this for about 5 minutes and come back in 5 minutes. So that's what it looks like after about 5 minutes. Looks nice there. You could also use celery, which quite a lot of recipes use. And now I'm going to add all of the beans now. should be enough beans for the Costa Ricans. And up at this point you can do whatever you like. Some people use vegetable stock, but I'm not bothering. I'm going to add a bit more water here, which is boiling, just to get it a bit more runnier. And get it all mixed in there. And then if you just come in closer, just show what it looks like. And now I'm going to cover it and leave it simmering for a while once I've got all of these in the liquid properly. And I'd advise like tasting it at a later point, which I'll show you later. And we'll move now onto the other steps of the recipe. Run out of time to do tostones. You can fry plantain with some oil, then mush it afterwards after draining, and then you get a nice crispy plantain. But unfortunately that's out of the window given how late it is. My dad made a good point that this is not runny enough for a pancake mixture. So I'm going to add a bit of soy milk just to keep it still vegan. That's about 100 mils, and I'll get that nice and mixed in there. You could use water as well, but I just want it creamier. This now looks more like a pancake mixture, which I've mixed well. As you can tell, I'm making it all up as I'm going along, but I will leave the recipe obviously in the video description. So next up, I've heated up these pans, so they should be quite hot now, just a bit, quite a bit of oil. So I'm gonna pour in some gently into each of these and make quite a big pancake, and then spread it out hopefully. So that should be okay hopefully. And that will be a bit messy probably. Then spread it out into a rough circular shape, I'd say. I've never actually made pancakes before. That's good enough. I'll give that a rest for 2 minutes and then we'll flip them over shortly. Okay, so it's been more like 3 minutes. We turned it up. It will probably flip very badly because the mixture's probably not ideal for a pancake, but I'll give it a go just for entertainment, and we might end up with scrambled plantain and corn. So I'll try with the big one. Oh, I think we'll go for the scrambled plantain approach, I think, because as you can see, it's not gonna flip enough. So this is why you probably should practice these things at home, but I'm gonna make scrambled plantain, I think, is the best approach now. So give that a good mixture, and it'll be like a nice alternative to scrambled eggs, hopefully, with a bit of a Central American twist. So we'll go with that. And I'll just check what the bean mixture tastes like whilst I recover from my failure. So if you come in here, just have a look at that. So that's what it looks like. So it's fairly thinnish, and I'll give it a quick taste just to check there's just check there's enough hot pepper in there. That's perfect. So it's quite hot, but not too hot, but you can make it how you want. And I'm gonna carry on mixing this. The kitchen's become a bit of a mess. But actually, if you look at this, this kind of looks like very good scrambled eggs. So I'm quite happy with my failure, and I'll show you what it looks like once I've stirred everything up. Scrambled plantain and corn for about another 5 minutes just to make sure it's cooked. And I'm gonna add a little bit on top of my soup. This might look like baby food. As you can see, it's probably not the most soupy consistency, but we'll go with what I've got for now. That will do. I'll add a bit more in a few minutes. And then lastly, you can garnish with some parsley and coriander, like with what I've got here. I've gone for quite a lot, to be honest. And lastly, I'll just give it a quick taste.
The recipe didn't turn out quite as I hoped for, and it's also a bit hard when you haven't made something before to know and like interpret how to do things. So for the Sopa Negra, it tasted very nice, so a nice balance of flavors and not too spicy. However, it's just too many beans to the digestive system, at least for me. So I'd recommend, for example, serving it with rice and also bread, which we did the next day. And secondly, for the plantain and corn mixture, it just simply won't make a pancake however much you try. The next day we tried, for example, adding some wholemeal flour to half of the mixture, so 1 tablespoon, which made something resembling a fritter when you fried it. Obviously, it doesn't look great, but the texture's much better, and it's also got some nice complexity of flavor and also quite fruity. But at the end of the day, I probably recommend just making tostones, so fried green plantain, because it's just a lot easier and that will also taste very nice. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, and hopefully you'll be back for another video.